it in, and that's a perfect substitution for that. All right.
Pretty. It already smells good.
Yes. So once that's all melted, then we're going to do the fun part.
How do we know when it's melted?
Once it's like a little less grainy in there.
Okay.
Sort of.
Yes, it still looks like wet sand. I don't think we want it.
I think that looks like that's about half,
Yeah,
right? Is that about an hour? Okay. Do we need more?
Thank you, Chef.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chef.
So all of this, laying out your ingredients and stuff like that, like cooking show style, that's called mise en place, which means mess in place in French. Go, guys.
Oh.
Mise en place.
Yeah. And that's one of the things we teach culinary students, and I teach home cooks as well. When you're doing something and you've got the recipe, make sure you've got all your stuff laid out, and then you can talk to your sink or your kitchen window and say, and then we're going to put this in here and this whatever. It makes cooking so much easier. You feel better about it. You feel like you've got everything under control. You're not you're not burning something while you're trying to cut the carrots on the other end. Right? See? Okay.
Who here cooks at home when they cooks? Oh, most of you. So have you ever because I do this, do you talk to nobody while you're cooking as though you're teaching a class?
Yes.
I find it's like, oh, first you put the eggs in, and I'll give an accent.
That's my whole life now.
That's your profession.
Yeah,
You do that for a living. I've been doing it at home for free for years. I'm clearly not doing it correctly. But yes, and it's funny.
All right. So that's looking good. We got some melting going on. So what we're going to do next, we're going to scrape most of the butter and the sugar towards one side.
Go away, butter and sugar. Stay on your side.
I'm going to stay over here. Sorry. This is not an all skate.
It's running
All right.
away.
So then, now we're going to do this thing. We're going to pull this off the heat for a little bit. And we're going to add our Myers rum. This is dark rum. Pour that in.
Don't drink it.
Away from you. Watch your hand. I don't think it'll ignite right away. But.
Wait, right away? What?
So, this should do this if I'm lucky. So, if you were doing this on table side, you would sort of knock it into the burner and then it would go up on table side. Very much the early version of bringing out a Chili's fajita thing, all of that.
Also, tie your hair back.
Yeah. So this gets rid of most of the alcohol, so nobody's going to get drunk on ice cream today. I'm very sorry.
Sounds like a challenge to me.
So you've got that, and then you can add the mango liqueur right on there. That's okay. So it doesn't have as much of an alcohol content, so it's not going to do that.
Banana liqueur.
Did I splash it?
No, you're fine. No, these are old burns. Don't worry.
Battle scars.
Yes.
Battle scars.
All right. So now that we have flambéed, you can add about a third of that cinnamon and all of the bananas.
You want to do cinnamon, all the bananas?
Yes.
Okay. Third.
Yes, sure, it's great.
Yes, okay.
Just give those guys a little bit of stir. So bananas have a lot of nice natural sugar, and they caramelize and get soft and a little creamy.
Oh, it smells. Can you smell that from your side?
Yes.
Oh, it already is like
That's the best part about this classroom. You can smell it. It's actually happening right in front of you.
Yeah. Oh.
So once that comes up to a simmer, we can shut that off, and then we can start making ice cream.
Make ice cream.
Make ting-a-ling-a-ling.
I used to have a problem with ice cream. Ice cream and I had an understanding. If it was around, I would eat it. And I used to, my roommate was like, I don't really like ice cream, so whatever. And so I would just be free to eat the ice cream right out of the carton.
You throw that roommate out? What kind of roommate did you have that didn't like ice cream?
The best, because I never had to worry about them eating my stuff. But I would just sit there with a half gallon of Bluebell and eat it with a cooking spoon. Until one time, I wasn't paying attention and I ate the whole thing in one sitting, and I thought, oh my God, do I need to call 911 or something? Is this even allowed? Poison control? I've had all the ice cream. And that's when, so now I'm much more measured in my appreciation of ice cream. Do you want to start? Yes.
What's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Oh, I can't answer that. It's
choosing a child.
yeah.
Ting-a-ling-a-ling.
A delicious child.
Ting-a-ling-a-ling.
I love cookies and cream is always a go-to. But so we recently found a brand of ice cream that's like super like no calorie, like very very low calorie.
Halo
So like Halo Top.
Top.
Yeah.
You like it?
Some of the flavors are really good. Some of the flavors are
It's like
terrible.
350 calories for a pint.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
That's the whole thing. That's like a
It's
serving.
the Halo Top commercial. I promise, we're not sponsored.
Yeah, we're still good. But not all the flavors are created equal. I think some of them are like, that's a little chalky tasting. It doesn't have the right creamy consistency of ice cream, But there's my favorite flavor. There's a peanut butter cup flavor.
Oh.
Have you had that one?
No, I have
The
not.
consistency is perfect. The flavor, and
That's
it's
my
like, and it's
favorite
only 320 calories for the whole pint, like an entire pint. And I do, because I'm like, well, I'm not gonna waste this when there's more to do. So I get it. Yeah.
All right, that looks perfect, guys. Give them a round of Then we're gonna come over here. So I've already made the ice cream base, which is cream, milk, Tahitian vanilla bean paste, sugar, and eggs. So custard is made by heating up milk and cream, and then you add that very slowly to egg yolks and sugar. That's called tempering. You add the hot liquid a little bit at a time, because otherwise you just get sweet scrambled eggs, and that's gross. So you add a little bit at a time, and then you put that whole mixture back on the stove and heat it up to about 180 degrees, and that thickens it up. And that will make you anything from custard sauce for pie to creme brulee to ice cream, depending on how much you cook it and in what way you do. Creme brulee is made by, those little, they're called ramekins, and you cook it in a water bath, so it cooks very slowly, like you would cook a cheesecake, so it doesn't curdle at all. This way, I just cooked it to a custard sauce, and we're going to freeze it very quickly, as I'll show you. So in here is 25 liters of liquid nitrogen. Liquid nitrogen boils at negative 340 degrees. So all of the steam and stuff that you're seeing is actually the nitrogen going from a liquid point to a gas point at a temperature that will freeze your fingers off. So, I brought this in my car. They don't make you sign anything or have a license or anything. I just go and pick it up, strap it in my car. I'm like, well, this is okay.
You're so brave.
Yeah, I'm super brave.
It's gonna be like Halloween up in here.
Yeah. So we're gonna put a little bit of custard in here. This is so good. This recipe is so good. You guys are gonna love this.
Now, what makes custard custard? Like, what's the difference between custard and non-custard?
I can answer that.
Things that aren't custard.
I can answer that.
Like custard versus ice cream?
Yes.
Like frozen custard versus ice cream would be the addition of a lot of eggs.
I can answer it.
Oh, go!
Custard is basically like it's a softer type ice cream, where hard ice cream is, like the regular ice cream is more like, a harder type ice cream, so it's a much softer type of ice
Custard
cream
has
for custard.
eggs yolks
Eggs
in it,
and stuff,
generally.
yeah.
Eggs and yolks.
Yes. No,
Okay.
like egg yolks.
Oh, egg yolks.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that is. I always thought it was eggs, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah. So we're just gonna put this up here. And then
It's terrible. Oh my god.
it's very haunted house.
I feel like I'm at work right now doing this.
That is insanely awesome.
Yeah. So
You could kill someone.
yeah, you can do this.
Do a music video.
Okay, I've never done that before
And it
though.
just
It's gone.
it evaporates. When I went to go get this filled up, there was a little bit left, so I dumped it out in the loading dock. And I was walking around in these Crocs, and I was like, "What's stuck to the bottom of my shoes?" The bottom of my soles had frozen. Yeah.
There's like little beads of it that like congealing and go and run across the floor for a minute. It's so
So
cool.
we're just gonna start this pretty slowly.
I just want a picture.
Oh yeah, get it.
Don't drop your phone.
In the custard
In either, yeah.
Excuse me,
No rice in the world will save your phone.
Liquid nitrogen.
Yep.
so the ice cream base, can it be the same as like a creme anglaise?
Yep. This was what you would use as a creme anglaise. This same sort of thing.
I also had a question. What was that ice cream that had terrible less calories you were just talking
It's
about?
called Halo Top.
Halo Top.
Halo.
Halo Top. H-A-L-O Top.
Yes, it's available in all the grocery stores. stores around here. I've seen it.
It's gotten super popular over the past year. They started with like a couple of flavors, and we were like, diet ice cream.
Isn't that crazy?
You got mint
Yeah,
tingling-a-ling.
cool stuff.
I do.
All right, so
I'm
now
out of it.
you guys can pour a little bit of this. Do you want me to show you how to do it first?
Yes,
Okay.
please, chef.
So this is going pretty slowly. We're just going to pour a little bit in.
And it just evaporates away.
Yes. So because this is so cold,
This is Halloween.
we're creating very small ice crystals. The faster ice cream freezes, the creamier it is. If you've ever had a pint of ice cream melt and then you put it back in the freezer and it has really bad texture, it's because the ice crystals form very slowly and they're very big. This will be the creamiest ice cream you've ever had because we're doing it so quickly. All right, you can do a little more.
Oh.
Why is it steaming? Like, what?
Hold on, let me change the camera so you guys can see that.
It's making noise.
Yeah, so it's freezing on the outside a little bit. Yeah, you can blow in there, see what we're looking at.
I just want to see you. Okay, all right. What do you want to do? Do you want to
Yes.
do it?
Pour it.
Remember, a little,
I feel like there's like a lot of responsibility here.
not a lot.
I've never lost anybody in a cooking class. So only had one fire. Things are good.
One?
Yes, absolutely.
Sounds like my car.
Why is he
All right, so now we're going to stop and scrape down the sides, just because it froze a little bit on the outside. I know. We're just going to make sure that's all connected. And then you can feel on the outside, this is already very, very cold. That's cold. Yeah. So we're just going to keep doing this until this turns into ice cream. So keep going.
Okay.
Your turn.
It looks so cool.
I feel like a mad scientist right now.
Channeling Oka Bay.
It's so cool that like as it pours, like it's bubbly, like it's freezing, but it's boiling. What is anything?
It'll be okay.
Now there are places like Cold Stone that use this to make ice cream in front of you. There are stores like that. All right, give this a second. Next up.
It's like an explosion.
So angry right
Like
now.
ah.
All right, we're looking like ice cream now. Keep going.
Keep going. Just keep going.
Okay, yes, chef. Yes, chef. Ah.
Watch out.
My arm. No
No
one's died.
one's died.
No one's died. She did not say no one's been injured.
Yeah,
No one maimed.
so look, here, look.
Oh, wow. Can you see that?
I mean, sort of.
Yeah, I can see it. Oh. I see the vanilla bean.
All right, you want to do this and scrape down the sides a little bit? Okay.
You must be very strong.
I am.
We did just lift the entire.
What's your
Like,
Here's some 25 liters of
Put the elbow grease into it.
You gotta go Super Saiyan.
I feel really
Stop.
antagonized
You know?
by the custard ice cream. Okay. Would you like to scrape?
You guys might have to go Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan at this point.
God, that is hard.
You guys at home?
Jesus.
I think you gotta go to Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan now.
It's not even my final form. Oh my god, this is so cool. It's like totally becoming ice cream.
But it's not.
It's not that I didn't believe you. I just. It's like, this is so
We're
cool.
getting there.
Alright.
Yeah, we're at about like sort of soupy soft serve right now.
Like when you've had ice cream and you just stir it a lot until it becomes like that kind of really cold soup. Who does that?
Oh, I like that's my favorite.
Fine, it's really good sometimes. Yeah. Alright. Alright.
Oh, let me turn it back on.
Yeah, just give it
What number?
just one.
Yeah, just one. It's gonna go crazy.
Or it'll be even more. It seems very incriminating.
Should have a splash guard.
They should use this as a siege weapon. Like little fireballs coming.
Oh, that's why
the opposite.
Okay, all right. I get it. Okay. I get it. I hear ya.
All right, I'm gonna go. Let's go like one more, and then we can start scooping.
One more. Yep. One more. Pour.
Where do you get liquid nitrogen?
We get it from a place that does like CO2 tanks for slurp machines, and they do dry ice and things like that. Let's go the rest of this. Do we have a sweepstakes winner?
A what?
Here? There was a sweepstakes winner here? No? Okay, never mind.
Someone's like, I did.
Yeah, we did. We glad you spoke.
I love this
You
stuff.
already ran lost.
Where did you get that? I want one.
They have more.
They have more? Awesome. I'm going to get every food before we leave.
We have plenty of wings too.
We have our own pig at home. He's a French one. He sounds like a little pig.
Oh.
What's that? He will wear it too. He loves
He's like obnoxiously large next to him.
See, everyone loves me in this. He's a dog that definitely knows, like, that he's got the X factor. He knows. He knows.
So refreshing.
I know, isn't it nice?
It's so nice.
All right, look guys, ice cream.
Wow! All
right. So if you guys want to scoop like one of these into all of those, I got some back in the freezer, and then we can make another batch. Take this off. So each scoop gets got a small ladle over there. You guys can ladle some bananas and sauce over there, and then I can walk around and hand it out.
Oh,
want
he's
a
got
scoop?
he's got the
Ladle?
scooper.
I would scoop.
He's got the scooper.
You ladle.
There you go. I'm gonna run over and get some more.
Okay.
Through the magic of TV, I did this already.
That's the real secret
As
of
seen
cooking.
on TV.
Getting someone else to do it. It's better.
Having
Just
a
better than-
fully employed television crew. That's magic.
His magic is Billy Mays.
Na, 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 na. We should add some entertainment. I feel like this
Oh. Does anyone have any questions while we talk about anything? It doesn't obviously about cooking. We're gonna be like, that's Chef Emily. when she
Yeah,
comes
you
back
may
in.
want to ask things
But
that
you can
would
ask
qualify.
questions. Ask us questions. Yes, you with the Cthulhu doll. Plushie. It's plushie.
It's a pleasure. It's fine. You can call it whatever you want.
I call it master.
The Cthulhu Wow.
So you said that doing the voice for Scar in Brotherhood ruined your voice. Does that mean that you can't sound like Clover anymore?
Could you speak up just a little bit?
can't hear
Sorry,
you.
we have this fan just like.
I have a light voice. Sorry.
That I can hear. So what was the question? I can, because I did Scar, I can't do.
Kyuya.
Do Kyuya anymore? I can do Kyuya, but Kyuya used to just be where my voice naturally sat, and now I have to push upwards toward it. So Kyuya is still available to me.
Okay.
But it used to just be like this. Kyuya was my normal voice, but you'll notice now, 10 years on, my voice has dropped. And that just happens naturally. Every voice actor's voice changes from use.
Oh, you can add a little
Guys tend to either settle into a deeper, richer tone. A lot of female actors do as well. Some people go higher. It's weird. It just depends on what part of your vocal cords you use the most. Because every tone, every pitch you hit there's a different area of your cords that are being vibrated. And so if that gets used more, and they begin to wear down a little bit, and just like with a piano or a guitar, slowly the instrument begins to warp and change, and the tone can get richer, or it just changes from the day you bought it. So, and of course, as you get older, from the reason you sound so different from, when you're tiny to when you're big is because your cords get longer as you grow. Eventually that stops happening, and the change comes from overuse, or just use, wear and tear, natural wear and tear that can't be avoided unless you just don't speak. So I can, to answer your question, yes, I can still vocalize Kyuya. It just takes more work than it used to. Which is why, and God knows they're never going to make a season 2, so.
That's so sad.
I know, but I just love the first season so much. I almost don't want them to ruin it with another season, because I'm like, that's a tough act to follow, and I'm like, they're going to screw it up. Now, how much would you
How about that?
want to full? I'm going to make it pretty.
Very nice.
Oh, I can't wait. You guys be honest, okay? Let us know if you like it.
Don't be fully honest.
Be nice celebrity honest.
Yeah, be nice celebrity honest. Remember, we have to spend the rest of this vacation together.
My little brother actually wanted Mr. Tatum to say a line for us from Scar.
About the cooking.
Well, sorry, I still couldn't. What was the question?
Did you
you
say
hear?
a line from Scar?
A Scar line? Do you have a particular line? Oh, you know what? I know the line. Unless you had one in mind, I have one.
Foolish alchemist who turned them back.
That's the line I was going to use. Good. We should hang out more. So this is a true story. When I'll get to the line in a second, but first I want to tell this. When I first got cast as Scar in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, when I got approached, I was a huge fan of the franchise, but Fullmetal Alchemist, the original anime, wrapped before I was a full-time voice actor, so I didn't get a chance to be part of it, except I did get to be Soldier A in Conqueror of Shambhala, in the movie. Mike McFarlane, who then I was getting to know, was like, "You want to do this guy?" And I'm like, "Yes!" And that was a red letter day for me. I got to come home and be like, "Guys, I got to be in the franchise for 2 seconds." I like literally said, "Freeze, you," and stop, and I got shot and died. And I was so proud of myself for getting to say I got to be in Fullmetal Alchemist. Oh my God. And then 5-6 years later, Brotherhood came down the wire. Damian Clark, who was brilliant, who is in fact my Scar. I love him. Also just a really cool guy. He was unable to reprise the role because he had stuff going on in LA that he couldn't put on hold. So Mike had to look for another cast member. Aaron Dismuke also had to be recast because when he played Owl, he was a little boy and he had grown up and his voice sounded like Chris Sabat's. So they're like, "Well, you can't do that anymore." So they found a different actor for Owl who sounded close to what Aaron sounded like when he was a kid, and they had me play Scar because Damien was not able to reprise the role at that time. When Mike came to me and asked if I wanted to do it, I was like, "Are you kidding me? Oh my God, there's so much pressure. Yes, I want to do it, but oh my God." And Mike took really good care of me. He knew how nervous I was, because that's like, talk about pressure. Like, there's already enough pressure because you're playing a character that people already love in the Japanese, and you're already kind of competing with that perception. But in like, no, now I'm competing with the Japanese actor and the original English voice actor. And, but the very first line I did in the booth as Scar, the recording went as follows. His first line was, "Foolish alchemists who turn their backs on ways of God should be punished." And this is how it went in the booth. "Foolish alchemists who turn their backs on the ways of God shall be punished." Followed by, that was playing Scar. What was that last part? What just happened? Nothing, we're fine. What do you want to take? Let's do another take, okay. "Foolish alchemists who turn their backs on the ways of God shall be punished." Every time. And he kept all of that. Like Mike still has that somewhere on file of me giggling like an imp. Because, I get to play Scar. So a very different voice for me. Who has another question? Now that we're talking and making dessert. Yes, you in the lovely corset and hat and everything. I love your ensemble is very lovely.
I know you were very excited about season 2 of Science Gate, so I wanted to know if,
excited is an interesting word. I love it, but more like traumatized and excited at the same time.
He still hasn't watched it yet. We're waiting.
You haven't watched Steins Gate, the original?
He hasn't watched it yet.
No, take his bananas foster. No dessert for you. I'm kidding, it's fine. But now we're going to put pressure on you. You have to watch it.
That's what I told him.
Like when you get home today. Start. I'm just in my queue. No, I know that lie. It's in my queue. It's like the check email.
Yes. I just wanted to know if there's any of your previous works, for both of you actually, that you would want to see a season 2 for.
Oh. Anything you've worked on?
Gamers.
You're so wonderful.
Gamers. I want another season of Gamers.
I agree completely, because that was amazing.
Thank you.
You're so
Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen.
I know.
Just because of the way sales went in Japan. It actually did pretty well over here.
Yeah,
The dub did great, but if it doesn't do well in Japan,
yeah, that's that's what happened to Bleach. Bleach got canceled.
Happens to a lot of things, sadly, where it's like it just doesn't sell in Japan as well.
Bleach didn't do good in Japan, but it does good here. It's another case of that.
How about you?
There's a lot I could choose from. it's really interesting enough, when you talk about Steins Gate, that was one of the last shows I wanted to get a second season, just because it was so grueling, the experience of working on it. It's very rewarding as an actor, and I love the show, and it is to date, the proudest thing I've ever gotten to do in the booth, but it was hell on earth in many ways, because it's a very emotional show, and I was like, I don't know that I want to put myself through that again, and then season 2 is going to be, and of course, 7 years later, they're like, hey, you want to do it again, only this time it's even going to be harder, because it kind of starts where the original got to after 12 episodes. So interestingly enough, that was like the last show I wanted to have the second season of, because I was like, that was just, that was too exhausting. I would love, anytime more Black Butler comes down the wire, I love to do it, because Sebastian was just always with me, and that's a fun voice to do. It's also a very easy voice to do. There's not a lot of strain. Sebastian is never screaming or, do you want to ladle? Because I'm okay, sorry, I'm talking a lot. I'm like, and this, and then, sorry. And
you're like, I don't want to add another thing.
So those are my big ones. Anytime there's more Black Butler coming down the wire, I love that. I love Book of Atlantic. Has anyone seen Book of Atlantic?
Yes.
Oh, it was so good. My favorite part about Book of Atlantic was Lizzie. And Lizzie's story. I mean, what great timing now that we need to know that story about her now, like right now. It's so great. She's such a bad. Yes.
2 questions.
Yeah.
Is it okay if we're a little bit closer into pictures?
Is it okay if she comes a little closer?
Oh,
to get some
absolutely.
pictures? Yes.
Also, what's the allergy information about this tissue right here?
Allergy information. Oh, you're allergic to liquid nitrogen.
I'm allergic to gluten.
We have a gluten allergy. Is this dessert safe? Not
Yes.
safe?
Very safe.
There's no gluten.
Is it no gluten at all? No gluten at all. Yes.
Okay, so my question is really to kind of to both of you. Is there any roles that you auditioned for that you didn't get that you would have liked to have gotten?
Oh yeah, no, I get everything I audition for. What are you talking about?
Excuse me.
That's acting. I mean, acting. Like once you get that first role, they just hand you everything after that. There have been a lot of roles that I have tried out for and I want all of them. I mean, that's the as an actor, I'm like, I really want to work and pay bills. That's nice to be able to make a living. So you always want the work. But even if I don't know the character all that well, and frequently I don't until I start, until I'm given the role. I always want to play something because I consider it a challenge. I'm like, I want to get my head around this person that I'm being asked to audition for. So I audition for everything I've given just about. Unless it's something I disagree with. Like there are some things I'll turn down because I don't like necessarily the message of a certain. It's rare, but it happens.
Or maybe the voice vocal for it?
I don't do political ads ever for anything, and I get auditions for that because I'm just like, I don't want to. Not that I am apolitical, but as an actor, I'm just like, I don't want to get involved in that. Especially in Texas, because you can imagine the timbre of most of our political ads. But I will never tell you the things that I didn't get because, and here's the reason why. Another actor who's a friend of mine, a good personal friend, often the case, has gotten that role. And I don't ever want you to think of anyone else playing that but that person. Because I don't like being like, could you imagine me if I played that role? I actually got the role of Kyoya, my first big break, really, in the business. I got the break because someone else couldn't take the role. That was the first choice. And they were brilliant. I love this actor. This actor would have done a phenomenal job, probably better than me. But he has committed, which I think very gracefully, to never tell anyone that he was up for that role because he doesn't want anyone to associate him with that instead of me. So just out of sheer professional courtesy, I'm like, no, I tried out for a lot of things I didn't get, but the actor that got them, that's the actor that I want you to associate with. So I don't like playing the same weird game of, can you imagine me in that role instead of that person who sucks? So you're free to imagine whoever you want, but I'll never. Thank you.
What Hogwarts house would you play in
Ravenclaw, for me.
Yes!
Yes! A lot of folks. Ravenclaw. What house?
Oh, Gryffindor.
Gryffindor?
Gryffindor!
Yes.
One of my absolute favorite roles, I love all your roles, but one of my favorites, one that I can relate to, is Chloe Lee from The Gray Man. I am big into science, I have a little bit of humor myself. So do you have a favorite line that he has done that you can reenact for us, please?
It's hard to pick a favorite because he's not a one-liner type of guy. He monologues a lot. I think my favorite moment in the booth, and it's hard to pick a favorite with him because he's so high energy and so crazy and so much fun, and he does the Quaver voice thing when he gets really excited, which is, I call it the Mrs. Garrett, if anyone remembers the show called Facts of Life. She used to do that with her voice. She's like, girls! And I'm like, so I would kind of do that for this character because I thought it was very appropriate for him. It's the episode surrounding Sir Kamlin II, the robot, that goes awry, and he's like, oh no, robots can't drink fluids, and it's drinking coffee, and like just his reaction was like, everyone knows robots don't drink. Oh, he drinks. I love little shifts like that mid-line, and so that's what comes to mind. And anytime he screams Lena Lee's, but I'm not gonna do that because I'm gonna take care of my voice. I got a session on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Simuldubs, y'all. Did you have a question?
Yes. What are you and Brandon's favorite musicals?
I'll let you take that one. Favorite musical?
My favorite musical. My favorite musical is The Drowsy Chaperone.
Oh.
I played.
You actually.
2 years ago, I played Adolfo. I love that role. It's just, and that's a show that you go to and you cannot leave that show in a bad mood. Like if you're having the worst day ever and you go see Drowsy Chaperone, you will be great.
It's so funny. It's a funny show. It's kind of like, if anyone does anyone know the musical or heard it before? Just download the album, and it's all like roaring 20s jazz type musical stuff. That's the style it's in, but it was written only like 10 years ago. And it's very much an ode to that, for want of a better word, kind of cheesy musical era where everything was exciting, but it's so funny and self-aware, and it's just got so many great moments. It kind of reminds me, I would compare it to like the musical version of Noises Off, the play about putting on a play where everything goes wrong constantly, and it's incidentally one of the funniest stage plays I've ever seen. Yeah, Brandon's involved.
I want to tell a story.
Real quick, what do you guys think of the dessert?
Yes, do you have a question about the
Is there anything in this that could make it taste a little nutty? Because it has like a nutty
It's
flavor.
the caramelization of the sugar and the way the butter browns with the sugar. That's what gives it a little bit of nutty flavor. It's the milk solids and the butter getting a little bit toasty.
Put cinnamon in there?
It's really good.
Yeah, a little bit of cinnamon.
So in the musical Drowsy Chaperone, the actor who plays Adolfo also has to play the Chinese emperor. Because in the story, it's about a guy who loves musicals in his apartment, and he puts a record on of this show called The Drowsy Chaperone, and like his apartment transforms into the world of the show, right? Well, and it goes back and forth between like the musical and this character called Man in Chair in his apartment, commenting on the musical, talking about the original actors, and because he loves it. It's really funny. Well, he gets to the end of disc 1 because it's a set of records. And he says, okay, well, I'm going to put on disc 2 for you, this record here, and I'm going to run to the bathroom, I'll be right back. But in the show, he puts the wrong record on, and it's for a different musical. So suddenly an entirely different musical enters into play in his apartment, and it's supposed to be this parody of The King and I. Yeah, and the guy who plays Adolfo, me, suddenly has to be like very offensively Chinese. It's like, because it's a parody, it's a comment on that.
A 1920s white composer's idea of what a Chinese emperor would be
yes.
like. You know?
Yeah. So I played the Chinese emperor, and I come out, and it was ridiculous. The costumer came out and was like, here's your costume for the Chinese emperor. And I'm like, Robin, those are pants. She said, okay, Robin, here we go. But she also gave me this mustache that came all the way down.
Yes.
But there's a lot of dancing in Drowsy Chaperone. A lot of very upbeat dancing. So I put this mustache on, and I get out there, and my scene partner, Emily, we have to like hold these things, and the lyrics are ridiculous. And sometimes when Man in Chair would comment on what was going on, everything on stage would freeze. And we just have to hold this pose or whatever as Man in Chair is talking to the audience, commenting. Well, as I was singing, I realized that my mustache started to come off very, very slowly. So I'm singing, and then we're singing, my mustache is coming off, keeping it together, I'm all right, and then we freeze, and Emily and I are in this pose, she's kind of mirroring me, and I'm looking directly in her eyes. And the mustache is like this. And as I breathe, every time I breathe, it's like, oh my gosh. Hold it together, hold it together. It was great. And then I was fine until she lost it. And then I lost it. And the audience lost it. And then at one point, like, man in chair turns to the actors and says, okay, you can go now. You can go. And
Wrong show.
I was so like mad at my mustache that I ended up like grabbing it and throwing it on the floor and storming off. I'm supposed to exit there, but it was very fun.
That's the great thing about doing like comedies like that is when you have a malfunction, just make it part of the show and the audience eats it up. Because at first it happened every night, and the first night he was like, my mustache came off, and I'm like, I know, and everyone loved it. That was their favorite moment of that scene, which was already very funny. And so he's like, so I'm just owning it next time it happens, and so then you did the thing, and I was like, it killed, the house was like,
yeah, the director actually came to me after that and said, can you do that every night? I was like, okay, sure. I will do my best.
Drowsy Chaperone has a lot of really clever moments in it. So the premise is that Man in Chair is just kind of this lonely shut-in who loves obscure musicals, and he's sharing his favorite musical from childhood with the audience in his little dingy apartment. It's hung with all these Broadway posters and stuff, and he talks about life and kind of where he's coming from. But he'll play this tune and he'll comment on it, and it sort of comes to life in his apartment around him. And there's so many great little, just really clever moments. Like at some point, they're in the middle of like a show-stopping, like end of act, where the whole cast is on stage singing and doing this really complicated jazz-era dance, and the record starts skipping. And Man in Chair is now up and he's dancing with everybody, having a ball while he's kind of explaining, this song is great, it's written in this style, and everyone's doing and the record starts skipping, and everyone on stage, the entire cast is on stage at this moment doing this dance move, and cleverly, it's so brilliant and hard to do.
It's very hard.
The whole cast gets stuck in a loop where they start doing the same dance move over and over again for
Yeah,
like 30 seconds while Man in Chair goes, oh, that's the record, sorry, I'll get it, hang on.
And it's brilliantly has this arm thing, so it's like so it works really well. It's really fun to watch. And so Man in Chair is not looped. He's like, oh no, and so he's trying to like weave through all these dancers doing these repetitive movements. It's like, oh my gosh, okay. It's a good show.
So if you haven't heard or seen Drowsy Chaperone, I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. One of my favorite musicals, I love just about anything by Sondheim. I'm a big music nerd, so I'm like, Sondheim is important to the way he uses counterpoint and his stuff. My favorite Sondheim, though, I love Sweeney Todd, but that's almost too easy, because everyone loves Sweeney Todd. It's a great musical, but it's also really popular. His lesser-known work that I love even more, though, is called Sunday in the Park with George. And that is, it's about George Seurat, the painter, who did that famous painting, the little point paintings. Oh, yes, I'm sorry, I want to take a picture again. Oh, yes, we're taking a picture, chef.
Sorry.
No.
Picture time.
Yes, chef. Yes.
See me on Twitter.
Thank you so much. Oh my God. That's so cool. I think I just want to wear these outfits the rest of the day.
Okay.